Hey everyone, All Elite Gooner here. Super excited to talk to you guys about this past week in the world of AEW. For everyone that knows, this past week was absolutely huge for AEW, and if you don't know, they basically held at least one pay-per-view quality show for free on TNT, and one that was well above average free television show. Of course, we're talking about Wednesday's Dynamite Grand Slam and Friday's Rampage Grand Slam, both recorded back-to-back at Arthur Ashe Arena in New York. So Dynamite aired live Wednesday night, and then they immediately recorded Rampage right after. So anyone that was there, they received quite the treat. Rampage aired Friday night, of course. So I'm gonna do my review of the show, both shows, and give out some match ratings, because there were some very good matches that we saw on free TV with very little commercial interruption, actually. So let's go ahead and get started. So Dynamite gave us 5 matches on the 2-hour card. Rampage gave us 6 matches. Rampage is typically a 1-hour show from 10 to 11 Eastern time, but for this special occasion, they had 2 hours, 10 to 12. And believe me, for someone like me that likes to be asleep around 10 o'clock, it was no easy task. I did take a nap beforehand, but it was well worth it. So, first match on the Dynamite Grand Slam card was the Dream Match. Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. Not for the title. It was Bryan Danielson's first match in AEW. We all expected this to be an instant classic. Did we get that? We got something even better. At least I think. It ended up being a 30-minute time limit draw. I actually expected that. Like, how could they, keep both of them looking really strong? How about a draw? We don't see too many of those in the US. Of course, in Japan, it's a lot more of a common occurrence. But this was absolutely amazing. One of the best TV matches you will ever see. Maybe the best match on free TV this year for sure. Definitely the best free match on TV. 2 of the all-time greatest putting on a wrestling clinic. The crowd was a big part of this as well. They were into everything they did. Start off slow, built up. A lot of good chain wrestling that happened. Great reversals. Both guys seemed to have great chemistry. I was not bored at all during this match. And the crowd was loud. The first minute was literally just them circling each other, staring at each other, and you could see how massive it was. Ultimately, it's a 5-star match. I don't have to go on about it too much. You must watch this if you haven't. It's incredible. We are lucky to have witnessed this. This is apparently Bryan Danielson's first 5-star match that was, actually awarded to him. Personally, I think he's had a couple in the past that I can think of. I think his WrestleMania World Championship main event win was a 5-star match, or pretty close to it. I think he's had a match with Punk that should have been 5 stars, but this actually earned them 5 stars. I think it's 5 stars. An absolute classic. Some great moments. Omega delivered a V-trigger where he ran across the length of the ramp, and it looked amazing. Everything they did was so crisp, so clean, and the way it ended, it just perfectly sets you up for something even bigger in the future. I would love to see an Iron Man match between these two guys. 60 minutes on the clock. Oh, that would be absolutely fucking incredible. Yeah, 5 stars. Can't believe they started with it, but totally makes sense that they started with that because, like, you don't want to run out of time. For example, like it's happened before where, you've gotten some matches run long, and then you got to cut it off out of the main event. So I'm glad they started with this. They gave it the full 30 minutes. Crowd was super into it. They weren't drained like they were for some matches we'll talk about in a little bit. So yeah, brilliant, amazing way to start the show. Second on the card was MJF versus Brian Pillman Jr. Pillman's been getting a little bit of a push lately, and getting a match on such a big card against one of the best heels in the business in MJF was huge for him. MJF won. Totally expected that. I didn't think Brian Pillman Jr. was going to go over, but he looked pretty decent in the match. Couple moments where you thought, oh, maybe they might actually have him win, but no. Ultimately, yes, MJF won the match. Decent match, average, nothing special. We've seen better from MJF, but this is one of the best I've seen from Brian Pillman Jr. 3 stars from me. Then we had Cody versus Malachi. Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black. Of course, we've been following the storyline. Malachi debuted, kicked Cody's head off, kicked Arn's head off, and then his first match was against Cody Rhodes, and he absolutely decimated him. And then he started taking out other members of Cody's little posse. So this was Cody's return. A lot more of an even match. I thought this was the best match we've seen from Malachi since he's been in AEW. We saw a little bit more of his in-ring ability, his counters, his really quick kicks. And I do think that if used correctly, Malachi can be a hey buddy, a main eventer, and he can easily put on 15-20 minute wrestling clinics when that time comes. But this was probably his best match yet with the company. I know he's only had like 5 of them, and he ultimately won with a little bit of interference involved. He did spray that black mist in Cody's face to get the pin, so that keep Cody looking a little strong, and it also has potential for some more to it. I don't think this is over, but yeah, great match. I wouldn't say great, good match. 3.5 stars from me, 3.5. Then we had FTR against Darby Allin and Sting. Watching this match, you would think you're watching Sting that was, from 20 years ago. He looked absolutely amazing. I don't think I've seen him look as good as he did in this match in a very long time. It was pretty fast paced too for considering you had about a 60-year-old in the match. It was pretty quickly paced. They were given, I think, only about 10-12 minutes or so, but it was a very good match. FTR, whenever they're involved, they make their opponents look great. They looked strong in the match. Both teams ended up looking really good. The finish came when Sting had the sharpshooter. I've been saying sharpshooter for so long, I forgot the Scorpion Deathlock for him. He had a Scorpion Deathlock locked in, I believe on Dax. Cash Wheeler tried to help Dax out, drag him to the ropes. But then Darby came off the top, hit him with a coffin drop, which eliminated Cash Wheeler from the picture, and Sting got Dax Harwood to tap out to the Scorpion Deathlock. Thought that was a really good match, on par with what we saw before at Cody Malachi. 3.5 stars. Main event, and I liked that they gave the women's title match the main event. The belt looks, the championship obviously comes off looking really strong because you put it in the main event when you had matches like Omega and Danielson on the card. And it was a very good match, not great. I think Britt had a better match against Chris Statlander at All Out. But they both got their spots in. They both looked really good. I don't think, Soho's run or Soho challenging for the title is over now. I think, she will be back in the fray soon. Yeah, there was some interference once again. When you had the heel win, there's, expect some type of interference. She did win a little bit cleaner against Statlander than she did here. But she did make Soho tap to the lockjaw. Do think Ruby Soho was a little bit gassed, but that's not her fault. She's been in her last company. She was continuously being given maybe 3 to 5 minutes to work with. So being back in and having a 14, 15-minute match was, something she's going to have to get used to again. But yeah, I would give that a 3.75. So that wrapped up Dynamite, which I thought was absolutely amazing. It was a great 2 hours. Went by very fast. No bad match. And then they recorded Rampage after. There were 6 matches on this card, so the matches were gonna be shorter. You're not gonna have a 30-minute time limit draw like you did with Omega Danielson. But we kicked that off with Punk versus Hobbs. CM Punk versus Powerhouse Will Hobbs. I thought, I'm not a big fan of Will Hobbs. I'm not a big fan of big guys. I am biased. I prefer technicians. I prefer the Flyers. But this is the best match I've seen from Will Hobbs. Some of that credit should definitely go to CM Punk, the veteran who's a master at ring psychology. A couple moves came off it was a little sloppy. Punk got busted open. I think it was a top rope Hurricane Rana that wasn't executed too well. Hobbs didn't land the way he should have. But it was a very good match. Punk's match against Darby was obviously better. But yeah, I would give this 3.5 stars. Good way to kick off Rampage. Then we had what I believe was the best match for Rampage. I don't want to say of the night because technically Omega Danielson was of the same night. But we had the Super Click. Adam Cole, baby, and the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy and Christian. Great match. With these trio matches can become a little bit of a clusterfuck, but not here. I thought it was brilliantly executed, fast-paced. A lot of these guys ended up looking like $1 million. The commentary team did a great job. We had a lot of heels in the commentary table for this match. Jungle Boy looked absolutely amazing. I can't wait to see him and Adam Cole this coming Wednesday. But yeah, Super Click prevailed. Pinfall. The pin was on Luchasaurus. It makes sense. You can avoid having Christian or Jungle Boy take the pin. You do it because those are the two you want to keep looking really strong. But everyone looked great, even in defeat. Jungle Boy had some absolutely amazing looking spots. Christian, great ring general, and even Luchasaurus got some awesome looking offense in. And I don't even need to say much about Adam Cole or the Young Bucks because we already know they're amazing. They're always going to be amazing. Any match they put on is going to be must watch, and just great seeing those three together again. Then we had the match Men of the Year versus Jericho and Hager. I like Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky on their own, even together, but I'm not too big on this whole Dan Lambert American Top Team storyline. Yeah, it's cool seeing some of those MMA guys that I like in there, but this is pro wrestling. I like watching pro wrestling, and I can do without that stuff. The match was just an ordinary match. Jericho did bring out a few of his top rope moves for this one. Definitely looked a little bit like the younger Chris Jericho here. But the Men of the Year did get a pinfall, and I was surprised. I thought Jericho and Hager would win this fairly easily, but Men of the Year managed to get the pinfall, a little roll up, and then there was the attack from the American Top Team. That knee from Jorge Masvidal onto Jericho, I don't think he knows how to hold back. I think he really laid into him. It looked bad for me. I don't know if he really did hit him or if he just made it look absolutely amazing. But yeah, that was a mean-looking flying knee. So that's something that's going to keep going. Yeah, average match, 3 stars. Then we had a 4-on-4 tag match, which, yes, was very much so a clusterfuck, but a very fun clusterfuck. The tag team champions, Lucha Brothers and Santana and Ortiz versus Private Party and Butcher and the Blade. Not too much to say about the match. Great high-flying spots. Everyone got an equal amount of time to show off their skills. 3.25 stars from me on this one. Now, here's my issue with the Rampage card. The last 2 matches kind of were a letdown for me. We had Anna Jay versus Penelope Ford. This ongoing thing with Anna Jay and facing off against either the Bunny or Penelope, it's got to stop at this point. We've seen it way too many times. This match was once again nothing special. Hopefully this week when it's Anna Jay and Ty Conti versus Penelope and the Bunny, hopefully it's over after this and they can move on to some different feuds or something, because I'm getting a little tired of it. The match was nothing special. Penelope won, brass knuckles. We've seen that before. 2.5 stars. And then we had the main event, which was a lights out match. We've seen some other lights out matches in AEW, and they, took the roof off the fucking place. They were amazing. This was John Moxley and Eddie Kingston against Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer. Suzuki-gun, for everyone that is familiar with New Japan. Maybe it's a controversial opinion on my part, but it wasn't for me. I didn't care for it. It was just a brawl. It even, with the exception of the ending where Eddie Kingston just kept bashing Lance Archer, who was in a trash can with a kendo stick over and over and over again. Everything else was just a bunch of mediocre looking punches and biting, and I didn't really care for the ending either. Other than the ending, which was well done. I didn't really care for everything that led up to the ending. Homicide debuted to help Kingston out because, they have a very close relationship. Do we need Homicide in AEW? I don't think so. I remember being a big fan of his back in the TNA days. But do we really need Homicide making a debut in a main event at Arthur Ashe Arena? I don't think so. I'm sure people disagree with me on that, but this match was just not for me. Yeah, I don't like brawls. If you like brawls, maybe you enjoyed it more than I did, but I've seen brawls that I liked, and this was not one of them. Can Suzuki please get a victory in AEW? This is pretty sad. Give the guy a win. I thought this would have been a perfect opportunity with the lights out match. Wouldn't have actually went against Moxley's record, but no, they had Suzuki and Archer look great and dominate 90% of the match, only for Moxley to hit a couple of DDTs, which they're calling, anytime he hits any DDT, they're just saying paradigm shift. That's not a paradigm shift. He just hit a couple standard DDTs. They were not paradigm shifts. Unless it's an actual paradigm shift, the lifting DDT, don't call it that. Yeah, it just wasn't for me. 2.5 stars. I think it was a very weak main event. And, Suzuki deserves better. Archer deserves better. Hell, Moxley and Kingston should do better. But yeah, I think Dynamite Grand Slam was an amazing free television show, worthy of essentially being a pay-per-view of its own. That gets a 9 out of 10 for me, for, as a whole card. Rampage is a bit of a letdown. There's really only one match I would go back and watch, and that's, Super Click and versus Jurassic Express and Christian Cage. Everything else was either good or mediocre. But yeah, it's still the fact that AEW can do this and do it on such a big stage, just keep us wrestling fans happy. It's a great sign for the future. So I'm curious to see where a lot of these angles go, and we don't have to wait too long. We have a new Dynamite in a few days. Thanks for watching.